who gave up quite a bit in the sacrifice and service of her country, supporting me. And so all the military veterans can see your hands out there. Hold them up for a second. See Air Force, Marines, Army, Navy, go. All right, thank you so much. You were sent to faraway places to defend your country in many cases. And if not, you were stateside, ready to deploy on a moment's notice to defend our freedoms. I mean, that's the only extremism in anybody in our movement is love of country. Anyone who's too radical in our country has a radical love for the citizens of America. When you think about the sacrifices, in my case, and I'm no hero, I served with heroes, and some of those heroes didn't come home. And it's really heartbreaking. I know they'd be disappointed where the country is today. But you think about on a moment's notice, in our case, being willing to be sent off to the four corners of the earth, as any veteran knows, and that is pretty extreme, I guess, huh? But we want to live our lives and be left alone. I mean, that's why most colonels, when we retire, only 3 in my class made it to colonel, and that's the highest you get in my career field. We have no general officers. That's why most of us ride off to the sunset, because we have a lot of skills. I'm a strategist. I help nations develop strategies. I develop campaign plans during the war on terror, and I mean, just on and on and on. And that sweet job lined up, and I couldn't do it. I was about to ride off to the sunset, like MacArthur said back in 1952, old soldiers never die, they just fade away. That was a different time. And so I'm in this because of love of country. It's interesting listening to the terrible things on the other side, accusing us of things that they're actually guilty of, threatening that people's freedoms will be removed. Are you kidding me? The things that I fought for to defend, unlike my opponent, are you kidding me? Those precious things that cost so much stress on our family and so much blood and pain in other families. And so my opponent has a record, and it's just it's interesting that he can't run on it, and he won't run on it, because if he runs on it, he's going to lose, significantly. The crime is up almost 40% since he's been the Attorney General. John Adams, our second president, said facts are stubborn things. And I live in the world of facts. We don't live in the cartoon world, the Democrat Party painting me as some kind of image that's just not true. The beauty, had you seen me in uniform in Afghanistan or in Iraq or elsewhere, you'd see me leading men from every stretching corner of Pennsylvania, from every stretching corner of America, even from people from around the world in NATO. I had 80 men and women from 18 different countries. And unlike what happens on the other side in the case of Josh Shapiro, we don't see color. We see green in our case. That's a fact. All I care about is having soldiers with me that get the job done and do it well. That's the only thing that we're looking for. There's nothing else on the table there. Because life is on the table. Everything's at stake. Under Josh Shapiro, murders, homicides have doubled. For instance, in Philly, when he came in, there was 277. Now we're pushing 600, since they're going to be a record year, sadly. He owns this. He is the senior law enforcement official of the state. That's his job. Do your job, Josh. And he's let us down. We're looking at 946 carjackings or attempted carjackings in Philadelphia alone this year. Are you kidding me? In Kabul, Afghanistan was safer than Philadelphia. And that's life under Josh Shapiro. So under Doug Mastriano on day one, we're going to become a law and order state. We're going to focus like a laser against crime. We're going to focus tough in Philly. My goal is to restore order and to make it the town where people want to visit. It should be the shining city in America. It should be a beautiful gem on the Delaware instead of a place that's just very dangerous to go to. We saw, a Democrat operative walking the streets just this past weekend, minding his own business, and some murderer shot him in cold blood, shot him in the back, from the back. But that should never happen in the city. It's just terrible. We saw what happened in Wawa this past weekend in the Mayfair district. They used to be a pretty safe and decent area to live in, and stop. We saw the group of people come in, and I don't think anyone was arrested. So this is what we're becoming under Josh Shapiro. This is why, he had no primary opponent. He should be double digits ahead. He's run $26 million or so, or is in the midst of doing $26 million in ads against me. And the polls are coming out over the past 4 weeks. We have 2 Trafalgar polls, and I'm just citing polls that have a good reputation. Because with polls, he who pays the piper calls the tune.
Yes.
You can pay to have polls have a certain outcome. That's a fact.
Yes.
So I'm sticking with the ones that have a good reputation over the past couple years. Trafalgar is respected. They had one about 5 or 6 weeks ago, showed a 4-point difference over sampling Democrats by 4 points. Rasmussen is estimating it's going to be plus R, plus Republican turnout 11 or 12 or 13. If that happens, it's going to be quite a thing. So that's why it's important Mifflin County shows up.
We will.
Even the Inquirer is kind of worried that you're going to show up. Like, unlike that hilarious piece in the New York Times, our campaign is fizzling. Look around, do you see fizzle?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so many vignettes I can give you. When Josh Shapiro announced his candidacy in Pittsburgh, a city of pushing almost 1 million, 65 came out. How about fizzle?
It was probably his family.
A few months later, we did our announcement, after you guys got us across the line of our initial financial goal. And we did our announcement in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, a day after a snowstorm, by the way.
Yeah.
I was like, please, God, stop the snow. And 1,500 of you came out.
Yes.
Yep, I did.
You remember? There was a blast, too.
Yeah.
We stopped in Delaware County a couple weeks ago at Gadsby's. Now, this is right outside of Philly. And they had to turn people away at Gadsby. There was we were packed. It was standing room only. And they had to turn people out the door. I got notes from people saying, Doug, sorry, I missed you. There was no room. And I'm like, wow. Remy and I were almost body surfing to get through the crowd. It was beautiful. And we were back in the southeast with Rick Santorum on a work night. And there was car crashes that kept a lot of people from making it there. And so we delayed the start for a time. And we had 400 or 500 people show up on a work night. I've seen my opponent show up in Franklin County, and maybe he had 60 people show up at an event. The night before we had an event, we had 1,200. I mean, so there's a narrative in the media, sadly. They're not letting the truth get in the way of the facts. And that's when it's just hard to take them seriously. You look and see. This is amazing. And Rebbe and I are humble and thankful for your support. In the end, the hit pieces, the lies, this deception, the biased articles really don't matter. What matters is what you do on 8 November, right?
That's
You have the last say.
We're all going to vote for
Because we've walked together through the valley of the shadow of death. We walked through the days of COVID. We walked through the shutdowns and the forced masking of your kids. Many of you threatened to lose your jobs unless you got the jab. The horror and wonderment of how you're going to pay your bills. You didn't qualify for unemployment, but you're deemed non-essential. Are you kidding me? All the cabinet shops in Pennsylvania, for instance, were shut down, except one in York County, Wolf Industries. That's okay? Where's the media? Where's the justice? We saw the raid at Mark Houck's house in Berks County on Saturday. Look, I'm a lifelong soldier, and I think in my bearing, in my speech, I still am.
Yes.
Did it all my life. That's all I wanted to do. I love my country so much that I served in a uniform. Really a sad day to leave the Army when I had to retire. It really knows. But the kind of raid we saw against a potential misdemeanor that the second U.S. court dropped because of a pushing match outside of a clinic over, the guy's 12-year son that was being cussed at. I think most of us have been a little pissed off about that, but a judge said, no, there's nothing here. And then for the feds to show up with 12 to 15 vehicles, according to Mark Houck's wife, and with 30 agents with weapons drawn at a man's house, that, aside from kicking in the door, that's the kind of operations we did in Afghanistan against known, armed, dangerous, bloodthirsty insurgents that had killed people. I used to, help coordinate those kind of ops. Are you kidding me? Where is the equal justice before the law? Where was any agents holding up a BS flag say, wait a second, send 2 cars over, we'll go there with the warrant and do our jobs professionally instead of sending a message. So we are really at the crossroads. These are facts. I'm not making anything up. We're at the crossroads between a continued tyranny and overreach, and overregulation, overtaxation of Tom Wolfe, or a new birth of freedom under Doug Mastriano.
Yes.
We need it.
Yes.
My heart, like many of yours, is grieved over the future of our country. We're on the cusp of handing over our state and nation without the freedoms that you and I grew up with as kids. We're really getting close to that. Horrifically close to that. I'm thankful I'm in the race. I could have gone off and be that respected and full colonel. By the way, I heard someone asking me a question. Or the Eagles. I could have ridden off in the sunset. I was highly regarded and respected around the world for my opinion, my strategic approach, for my research. But as soon as you stick your toe in politics, you become an enemy of the left. They did their worst. The DNC, actually, the Democrat National Committee, according to Salon.com, did target me last year. They saw me as a threat to Josh Shapir's ability to win, and they hit me even last year. I thought it was bizarre, and they broke down the whole attempt in an article last year. So they're going to do their worst. They're going to spread their disinformation and lies, and just speak the truth. And so as you're engaging people around Mifflin County and elsewhere, don't go on the defense. Oh, I saw this ad about Doug. He's going to do this and that, or he's too extreme or whatever. Don't go on the defense. Go on the attack. Go on the offense with truth. Truth with love. Lay out, remind them what the Wolf administration did to you during the shutdown. We all lived through that. Remember your loved ones being locked in, and you were locked out from seeing them for over 400 days, and no one cared. Levine got away with it. Levine was able to sneak Levine's own mom out while your moms and dads and grandparents were left to die alone. Where's the accountability? And instead, if that was a Republican administration, if that was a Republican Secretary of Health, there'd been hell to pay. But instead, Levine gets promoted. Second most senior official for health in America now, and Woman of the Year as well. I'm not making this up. I'm not making it up. Meanwhile, when we needed our